If you're looking at a career that's, well, globally recognized, incredibly necessary, and backed by a world-class healthcare system, then becoming a nurse in the UK has probably caught your eye.
And it's a really good moment to be looking, actually. The demand isn't just theoretical. The UK government's put nursing squarely on the shortage occupation list.
Right, so that signals a real ongoing need.
Exactly. A clear, sustained need for professionals. It makes it a pretty ideal time for, both UK graduates and international candidates to explore this.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our mission today is a deep dive into the specifics, the concrete requirements you need, the pay structures, because those details really matter. And importantly, we need to look at the real-world challenges too.
Definitely. Because when we talk about a UK nurse in 2025, we're talking about the absolute backbone of the health system. It's so much more than just bedside care now.
How so?
It's this sophisticated mix. You've got direct clinical support, yes, but also high-level admin and increasingly managing advanced digital health tools. Quite broad.
That blend of skills sounds like a good lead into our first section, the actual pathway to practice. What are the absolute must-haves to even get started on a UK ward?
Okay, the baseline requirements are pretty clear-cut. First, you need a recognized nursing degree or diploma. Usually that's a 3-year course.
And a language barrier?
Crucial point. If English wasn't the main language of your nursing education, you absolutely have to prove your proficiency. That means hitting specific, quite high scores on tests like IELTS or OET.
And the main body overseeing all this, that's the Nursing and Midwifery Council, the NMC. What's their exact role?
The NMC is the gatekeeper, essentially. They're the regulatory body. They define the standards. They enforce them, ensuring that sort of world-class practice level the UK aims for.
So their registration isn't just a piece of paper.
Not at all. It's really an assurance of quality. And while new grads can apply, the sources we looked at suggest having 1 or maybe 2 years of solid clinical experience. That really strengthens your application, especially if you're an international nurse.
Okay, degree sorted, English proven. Then the NMC makes you take 2 key tests. What are these hurdles?
Right. 2 mandatory tests. The first one is the CBT, the computer-based test.
Okay.
This checks your theoretical nursing knowledge. It's usually something you can take remotely, often in your home country. It confirms you've got that foundational clinical understanding.
And the second test, that's the one requiring travel, I believe.
That's the one. It's the OSCE, the Objective Structured Clinical Examination. This is a practical test done in the UK.
Right.
It assesses your hands-on skills, your competence in a simulated clinical setting. Basically, making sure you can apply your knowledge according to specific NHS protocols before they let you loose, so to speak, before full licensure.
So for anyone listening and maybe mapping this out, the official path seems like a clear 4-step process. How would you break that down?
Yeah, 4 key stages. First is verification. Get your degree and English eligibility confirmed. Step 2 is registration and testing. Apply to the NMC, then tackle the CBT and the OSCE. Step 3, and this is vital for international nurses, is securing a job offer. You need a confirmed post with a UK employer.
Can't get the visa without it.
Exactly. Which leads to step 4. Use that job offer to apply for your UK work visa. And the good news there is, for nurses, it's often the more streamlined health and care worker visa.
It sounds involved, but logical. Okay, let's switch gears. Section 2, the money side. Compensation and career path. This is a big motivator for many.
Understandably. So most NHS nurses are paid under what's called the Agenda for Change, or AFC system, pay bands.
AFC. Now, you mentioned this is both a good and potentially a limiting thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. The benefit is transparency. You get predictable progression based on experience and skills, unlike, say, some private sector jobs where it's all negotiation. But the flip side is, well, less room for rapid individual salary jumps based on negotiation. It's more structured.
So what do these bands actually look like in 2025? Let's talk numbers.
Okay, entry level, that's band 5. You're typically looking at a range between, say, £28,000 and £34,000 per year.
28 to 34,000, and then you progress.
Right. As you gain experience, maybe specialize a bit, you move into band 6. That's often seen as the specialist nurse tier. Pay there is roughly £35,000 to £32,000 annually.
And band 6 is noted as kind of the benchmark salary right now. Why is that?
Well, it represents the average nurse salary currently. It usually means you're handling more complex cases, maybe mentoring newer staff. It reflects that core level of clinical responsibility the NHS really relies on day to day.
Got it. And beyond band 6, senior roles.
Yeah, moving into Band 7 and higher, you're talking senior management, advanced practitioners, clinical leads. Salaries there quickly go up 43,000 pounds, 50,000 pounds, and potentially quite a bit more, depending on the specific role and responsibilities.
Now, beyond the basic salary, there are other financial bits. Something often mentioned, especially for international applicants, is London waiting. What is that exactly?
Ah, yes. London waiting. It's basically an extra allowance, a stipend. Because the cost of living in London, especially housing, is just significantly higher than most other parts of the UK. So this allowance helps compensate for that massive difference.
And it's significant.
Oh yeah, it's not trivial. Depending on the specific NHS trust and where exactly in the London area it is, it can add several £1,000s extra onto your annual salary. It's pretty essential if you plan to live and work comfortably in the capital.
Makes sense. Okay, so the NHS is the biggest employer, but where else are nurses finding jobs?
The options are actually quite diverse. You got the NHS hospitals, obviously, offering that structured career path. Then there's private healthcare, often tempting with higher starting salaries, maybe more flexible shift patterns.
Right.
You also have agency nursing. That's usually short-term contracts, often at higher hourly rates,
Yeah.
but less job security.
Trade-offs.
Exactly. And finally, a huge area of demand is care homes, especially with the UK's aging population. The need for skilled nurses in elderly care is massive and growing.
And one point that came up strongly in the sources was global recognition, that UK experience really travels well.
It really does. The standards set by the NMC, the experience gained within the NHS or even reputable private UK settings, it's highly respected internationally. It definitely opens doors if you decide to practice elsewhere later on.
Okay, valuable career capital. But now we have to move into Section 3, the reality check. It's a high-demand field, yes, but that demand creates real strains.
This is probably the most critical part for anyone considering this career to understand. The systemic strain is, well, it's severe. We're looking at figures like nearly 47,000 unfilled nursing positions across the NHS.
47,000 vacancies, that's huge.
It is. And that vacancy rate puts immense direct pressure on every single nurse currently working, day in, day out.
And the impact of that pressure, the burnout stats are pretty sobering. The sources mention 34% of nurses reporting burnout symptoms weekly.
Weekly, think about that. Over a third of the workforce feeling burned out every single week.
How does that actually play out for the nurses who are still there?
It means more admin work piled on, fewer proper breaks during long shifts, and maybe most critically, higher patient-to-nurse ratios, which makes it incredibly hard to deliver that high-quality, focused care everyone wants to give.
And that leads to people leaving.
Sadly, yes. It's a contributing factor to why around 12% of newly qualified nurses leave the profession altogether within just 3 years.
The sources flagged about 6 common causes for this whole situation. It's not just one single thing driving it, is it?
No, absolutely not. It's a complex web. You've got the obvious staff shortages, ongoing issues around pay not always keeping pace, the burnout factor itself creating a vicious cycle.
And for international staff.
Then you add in the complexities of immigration rules, which can sometimes slow down hiring, technology gaps that exist in some trusts making work harder, and fundamentally those high patient ratios we mentioned. It all intertwines.
And international nurses face extra hurdles too, right? Like adapting to NHS ways of doing things, maybe delays with the NMC or visas.
Yes, adapting to very specific NHS protocols and culture can be a challenge. And unfortunately, delays in the licensing and visa processes can be frustrating and add to the stress.
What's interesting is the point made about nursing management. It's not just about fixing the whole system, but individual strategies.
Exactly. In this context, management often becomes less about top-down systemic fixes, which are needed, but slow, and more about what individual nurses and teams can do now to manage their workload and maintain care quality under pressure. Proactive strategies.
So what does that look like in practice? For you, the listener, maybe working as a nurse or thinking about it, what are the actionable tips from the sources?
A lot focuses on boundaries and efficiency. Things like actively planning shifts to ensure you take your designated rest breaks. Using digital tools and apps not just for charting, but for tracking workload effectively.
And speaking up.
Absolutely. Advocating for fair conditions and appropriate pay, often through joining and working with professional unions like the RCN, Royal College of Nursing.
And what about managing yourself professionally?
That's just as vital. Prioritizing actual self-care routines, not just as a buzzword, but practical steps. Also, actively upskilling, perhaps in leadership or management skills, to handle resources better and really embracing digital health tools, seeing them as aids to efficiency, not just extra tasks.
There was a really good case study mentioned Emma, a Band 5 nurse in Manchester. She was feeling overwhelmed by these long, intense shifts. How did she apply this kind of thinking?
Right. Emma's story was insightful. She realized systemic change wasn't immediate, so she focused on what she could control. She actively pushed for and utilized flexible scheduling options within her NHS trust.
And talk to colleagues.
Yes. Crucially, she joined a peer support group.
Mhm.
And the results weren't just about her own mental health improving, though that happened. Her patient satisfaction scores actually went up noticeably.
Wow.
It showed how those sort of proactive personal management choices, that resilience, can make a tangible difference on the ground.
It's proof that individual actions matter, even within a strained system.
Okay, let's shift focus now to Section 4, the future of UK nursing. Given these pressures, how is the profession likely to change? Well, despite the challenges, the long-term outlook for demand is strong. The government actually projects tens of thousands of new nursing jobs being needed by 2030. The need isn't going away.
And technology seems key to managing that future demand.
Definitely. We're seeing a rapid acceleration in digital transformation. Think advanced tools like AI potentially being used for predictive patient monitoring, helping to spot issues earlier, and much wider use of telemedicine for remote consultations and follow-ups.
And the role itself is changing too, more autonomy.
Yes, alongside the tech, there's a clear expansion of clinical authority for nurses. We're seeing the rise and growing importance of nurse practitioners and advanced nurse prescribers.
What does that mean in practice?
It means nurses increasingly leading clinics, diagnosing conditions, prescribing medications, taking on really high-level specialist responsibilities, sometimes quite independently from doctors.
There were a couple of great quotes from experts summing this up. Professor Jane Cummings emphasized adapting to patient needs while keeping compassion central.
Exactly. She stressed that nursing has to evolve with changing healthcare demands, but must always retain that core of compassion.
And Dr. Anne Marie Rafferty, her point was about blending skills.
Yeah, Dr. Rafferty highlighted that the real strength going forward will be in combining that high-level clinical expertise with strong advocacy skills, making sure patients don't just get competent care, but also have their voices heard effectively within the system.
Okay, let's try and wrap this deep dive up. Key takeaways. The UK clearly has a huge ongoing need for nurses. That's why there's a structured pathway through the NMC. And the AFC pay bands offer competitive, predictable salaries, with Band 6 being that sort of key average level right now.
But crucially, thriving in this career today requires more than just top-notch clinical skills. Success really demands proactive management, both personal strategies and pushing for systemic improvements to navigate those tough realities of high vacancies and significant burnout risk.
Digital skills, advocacy skills, they seem almost as important now.
They really are becoming core competencies for navigating the modern healthcare environment effectively.
So the sources concluded that the main challenge isn't just about fixing the current problems, like patching leaks, but more about creating systems that sustain nurses long term.
And that leads us to a final thought, especially given that stark 34% weekly burnout figure and the increasing reliance on nurses adopting complex tech and advocacy just to cope. It raises a really important question for you, the listener, to consider.
Which is?
What part of managing the intense workload, ensuring your own career growth, and delivering quality patient care actually relies on your individual resilience, your self-care, your personal strategies? And what part must be tackled through collective action, through advocacy, at the hospital board level, at the government system level? Where does that balance lie?
A really critical question to ponder as you think about this vital, demanding, but potentially incredibly rewarding career path. Thank you for diving deep with us today.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.